One of the worst days during my 38 years as a firefighter came toward the end of my career. I was senior chief. I had another battalion chief in my office down at fire headquarters, and we were talking about some paperwork. When you're a firefighter, you get accustomed to listening to the departmental radio. My ear told me something was going on the radio, and I said, "Excuse me," and I turned the radio up. I heard an accident. I heard people hurt. I called our dispatch central office, and they told me that their engine 17, ladder 7 had just had an accident. They were ordering medic rigs. They had hurt firefighters. Turns out that the engine 17, ladder 7 were on their way to a fire alarm, and engine 17 was T-boned by a man driving. He was drunk, and he had no license, and he had children in the back seat. They had an open bottle of liquor in the front, and they ran a red light and T-boned the fire truck when they were on a run. He hit it so hard he knocked engine 17 on its side. When I got to the scene, there was a large turmoil, of course. Ladder 7's crew was there. There were people crying. It turns out that FEO Torcos was pinned under the dual wheels in the back of the rig. Shortly after I arrived, a tow truck came out of nowhere. We had many Detroit police officers there. It unfolded very quickly. We managed to hold some blankets up for privacy. The police were very, very cooperative and helpful. The wrecker lifted the engine. The medic unit that they responded first, dispatch, broke down, had a flat tire. They had to respond to another rig. We ascertained that there was another injury. The officer was severely injured. It was just a cluster of a mess on that particular day. As senior chief, I wanted to make sure that everybody was taken care of. I made sure that nobody else was injured, put a certain amount of people off duty for stress. I went to the hospital, and they had pronounced FEO Torcos dead. I was called to identify the body of FEO Torcos, and laying on the slab right next to him was the piece of garbage that killed him. When FEO Torcos passed away, there was no question in my mind who had to tell his wife that he had passed away, was never coming home. I certainly didn't want the fire commissioner to do it. I sincerely felt that it was my job as a contemporary and a peer and friend to tell her myself. This is anomalitic. It doesn't happen all the time. There's no book on this. In incidents like this, I found that you just have to do what your heart tells you you're supposed to do. And that's exactly what I tried to do at this time. When she walked in the door, she had an infant approximately a year and a half old. She was Polish, I believe, of extraction, limited English, and her mother was with her, who spoke almost no English. She was carrying her young child in her arms, and she was very, very pregnant at the time. The hospital set up a little room for us. Her mother took her child from her. I took her in the room. Chief Chaplain McNeely was in the room with us, and we simply told her husband had passed away. We made it as simple as we could, and we were as compassionate as we could. Several hours went by. This was quite a protracted period, and sometimes your human brain is really good to you. I had a loss of time, and I can't really tell you everything that went on, but it was just a very severe night. I felt compelled to go by engine 17 and ladder 7 and talk to the oncoming unit and address those that were still there that were involved in the accident the night before, to give them first-hand knowledge relative to everything that happened on that night. I didn't want them to hear second or third-hand knowledge. And of course, a lot of tears were forthcoming. It was a bad situation all the way around. I got into my car, and I was still very discombobulated and, of course, feeling terrible. I thought that I would go down and have a beer. It was early in the morning, and a retired firefighter friend of mine owned and still owns what we call a Firefighters bar down by the old Tiger Stadium on Harrison and Michigan Avenue. I knew they weren't open, but I knew the guy that cleaned up in the morning. He had played hockey with the fire hockey team. He poured me a beer, and I sat there and took a couple sips out of my beer, and the day got worse. My cell phone went off, and I got a call from the hospital. My brother had died that night. It was just a brutal nightmare of a day.